Watching Phillip Public TV, Channel 91.
When you go to the movie. And I also want to say other businesses in town really helped out a lot too. This was a total community event, and it sure is Phillip, South Dakota has always been an amazing place. So thank you to their sponsors, CHS, Dakota Mill and Grain, Gym Theater, Grossenberg Implement, Kennedy Implement, Phillip Livestock Auction, Ravelette Publications, City of Phillip, First National Bank of Phillip, Golden West, Hanson Oil, Moses Building Center, Phillip Fire Department, and West Central Electric. And I would also like to say a big thank you to Brittany Smith and to Lori Quinn. These two people have just been phenomenal helping. This is a lot of stuff to do to get ready for something like this, and they made it very easy for me. So thank you guys very much. And tonight, we're pretty lucky. After we set this up, the DePoy family graciously offered to talk. They had an incident out there on their farm 2 years ago, Valentine's Day? 3 years ago, Valentine's Day already. And the happy news here is Shannon, that was caught in a sunflower bin, is here with us tonight to talk about it. And so I guess that's all I have to say, other than thanks again. And if you guys have any questions about this subject matter, please stop in and let's have a talk. There's just a lot of information to go through that we're not able to go through tonight. There's some good stuff here with the fire department set up. If you guys are interested in what these tubes are about, they're a very interesting thing. So these local guys have done training for 5 to 7 years on this stuff, and it's important that the community knows what they're doing if and when something happens. So with that, I'm going to ask Shannon DePoy and Perry DePoy, is that correct? To come up and share with us.
Well, I guess this is going to be our first time with the mic, so we'll see how this goes. Yes, I want to give a big thank you to CHS, all the sponsors, Dakota Mill. I had them listed all. I had my wife write them down, but Jay read them off. I know this is a big project, takes a lot of work, food and everything for everybody, and I'm sure glad we had it on a great night, so you couldn't beat the weather. But yeah, so I appreciate it, and I'm sure anything we could do to raise some awareness, you know, to younger kids, even us old kids, you know, we do things we shouldn't, and that's kind of what happened to me. So I don't know how many of you remember what he was doing on February 14th, 2017, but I can tell you what I was doing. I guess that's been 3 years, so. So we had a bin, so we farm up by Dupree, South Dakota, and we have a farm site south of Eagle Butte, about 15 miles. It's a pretty rural area, so we're about 15 miles south of town and 3 miles west on Highway 63. And what we had a brand new 50,000 bushel bin. We put sunflowers in it, and the last few loads are pretty wet flowers, so we put them in there. And it's kind of a bin site that's off on its own. It's south. It ain't at our main farm, but we kind of didn't get to watch it much. And a couple of weeks after it was harvesting, me and a hired man was down there to kind of check the bins, and the bin was pretty hot. The top was really hot. So we turned the fan on, got the air going, got it cooled off. Well, when we did that, we had a lot of cold air come in about then, and it froze, like there was about 6 inches deep. It was a froze crust all on the top. So I'm like, geez, how are we gonna get this mess out of there? So we kind of devised a plan, me and our guys. The other thing I need to say, I got a couple employees that were with us and they couldn't make it. One of them had to go to the basketball tournament tonight, Jim Selby. And Jeremy Ferguson, he was with me and he's starting to calve cows so he can come. And Milo Lafferty, another, he's the one of those guys that helped save me, but I'll get on with it. Where was that? Oh yeah, our bin and trusted, so I'm like, man, we're gonna have to, how are we gonna get this trust out of here? So we kind of improvised a system. I got some high school boys to help us. We took in a couple loads out, so if anybody's familiar with a bin, you know how like when you fill a bin the peak goes up. So we sucked about 2 big loads out, and so the peak was down, if everybody knows what I mean. And we got this trust all taken out of the bin, got it, throw it out of the side door into an old truck and hauled it off. And but the flowers were kind of musty; they were bad smelling. So we had a hopper cone there, and we just happened to take a trip down at this bin site. We never have a loader tractor there ever. This is like the only time. And we took a loader tractor down there because we was going to take some flowers out, put them in a hopper cone to kind of let them air out. So it was on February 14th, really nice, sunny, beautiful day. I remember that. And you always plan while you're gonna. Me and my wife have been married about 19 years, I guess, at this time, and I don't even know if we really made plans, for the evening. But every husband, you got to take your wife out for dinner. You guys know that. So, and I don't even know if I really said that, but we went down there, and it was myself, Jim Selby, Jeremy, and my dad, Harry. We went down to this bin, and what we was going to do is try to take some flowers out and put them in this hopper cone to kind of get the smell out of them, because we knew if we took them to the market that they wouldn't like it. So when we first before we even left, I was in Rapid City, and I remember being at the Shield store, and I see they had some of these harnesses, and I thought, man, if we got to get in this bin, we probably should have some harnesses. I did think about that at least. I thought, man, we should have some harnesses. So I bought 3 harnesses. And then the day we went down to work in this bin, I did go to the Eagle Butte Co-op and I bought just a generic rope, like 25 feet, or I don't know how long it was.
Probably 100.
Maybe it was 100 foot. Yeah, it's probably 100 foot long, but I just bought some generic rope. I'm like, oh, it's going to be all right. We'll just have it for safety. And so we took it. So me and Jeremy and Jim went up to the bin, and Jim, we tied our bin's got a temperature cable in it. So we tied the rope up through there's a big eyelet up there that the temperature cable hangs on. And we brought the rope down, and I kind of remember we started, I think Jim maybe went down to help get the auger started, and me and Jeremy stayed up there for a little bit. We were staying back, and Jim, then he came back out, and we'd push some chunks down in. As many know how a big bin works, there's a big sump in the center of the bin. Well, some of them chunks that we didn't get out had made their way into the center sump, so it plugged up so the grain wouldn't come out. So we're like, well, we didn't really know what was going to do. We thought about opening the side trap on the bin, and so we did, I guess. This kind of goes back to having good communication, and we probably ain't the best communicators. What we're all going to do, we just kind of did things, and but Jim had went back down, and me and Jeremy Ferguson were in the bin together, and I remember he had the rope tied up, and we had a side ladder inside the bin, and he had the slack out of me so tight. I said, Jeremy, you've got to give me a little slack, because I wanted to I was going to try to see what I could see in that bin, like how come are they getting anything out of it or what? And it wasn't just a couple seconds or so later that I fell down, and well, at that time they was taking some out of the side, and I didn't know it, and I was standing in the wrong place, which is my big dumb fault. I should have never known to don't get over on the side where the side auger is, but I was there, and it collapsed. So I mean, I don't know what I fell, probably, there was a pretty big hole because it was eating it out from underneath, you know, and I didn't know it. And I fell in, and I remember kind of falling. I reached up for my rope because as the fall, you know, the floor falls on you, you want to try to grab something. And I tried to grab for my rope. And this, no offense to anybody that's with me, but I told Jeremy to give me some slack, and I think he had the rope, but I think it slipped through his hand after I fell. You know, you can't hold somebody when you start to go, and that's how that happened. But I remember I reached up to grab the rope, and I remember hearing the sunflowers just kind of covered me up. One thing I do want to say, I'm kind of skipping around, this is pretty crazy, but one thing that really helped me in surviving what I went through, in the fall of that year, I had watched a movie it's called In an Instant, Buried Alive. And if anybody you get a chance, it's on YouTube or ABC. It's on the ABC Go app, I guess. It's an excellent movie. It's about a kid in a corn bin, kind of the same deal. He had a mask on. And I just really watched it, and we watched it at a supper club, and we got home, and I said, I want to watch that movie. And we watched it, and I think that had a great deal helped me get through what I went through. So back to, I was in the bin, fell in, and I remember hearing, you know, I can remember the sunflowers, everything kind of come in on me, and I remember sinking, and I could hear the auger running, and I'm like, oh shit, I hope they get that auger shut off, because everybody knows what happens when you go through an auger, and pretty soon they did, and it just got real quiet. So I was conscious most of the whole time during this episode, and other little thing. I was pretty adamant about wearing a dust mask. Anytime I'm with wheat, sunflowers, corn, I always wear a dust mask. And this little 30-cent mask, $3 mask, whatever it is, I'll tell you, this is a lifesaver. So I was lucky. I put my dust mask on before we even got in the bin, because that kept me breathing. And I was pretty lucky. But you know, there's a lot of little things like my dust mask. I had it on. We had a tractor there with a loader, and so I was in there, and I remember everything stopped. So I'm like, okay, I'm not in the auger, that's good. But I didn't know how far down I was. And it got real quiet, and I really got scared when it was quiet. But I could hear, pretty soon I could hear guys up on top, and I could hear them doing something. I didn't know what they was really doing, but they first started, of course, Jim's like, well, let's get in and see if we can get his head out, get me breathing. And they dug, and they couldn't find me, so they started to probe for me. And my dad had a shovel, not a scoop shovel, but like a dirt spade shovel in the back of his pickup. So they brought it up there with a long handle and tried to because they could see where the rope went in the sunflowers, but they tried to probe me to see how deep I was. And I always remember hearing that. I didn't know what this sound was, because I kept hearing this shh, shh, and I didn't know what the hell they was doing, you know. But I could hear something, and they was always like, they was on this side of me, in front, on the right side. And Jim's like, you know, we just want to be careful. We didn't want to hit you. And, you know, even shoveling, they knew that shoveling won't work, because you know how everybody shovels grain? You take some out, it all falls in on you. That's not going to work. I think the last thing they tried, I think they tried to pull me out by hand, but that didn't work. So they threw the rope out the manhole, is that right? And we tied it to our tractor loader, and they tried to pull me out a couple times, but the rope kept getting cut on the manhole where the rope come out, which is probably a good thing. A lot of people said it's probably a good thing they didn't get you out, but you know, as somebody rural, what do? You know, my dad, bless his heart, you got to make a lot of decisions in a short amount of time. Like he says, you know, you got to make the right decisions, but you don't have a lot of time to think about what are we going to really do. I'm trying to think. So, yeah.
I'm Shannon DePoy, his dad. Of course, I'm no spring chicken, you can tell that. And when he bought that rope at the co-op, I said, boys, this is false security. To put your harnesses on and think you're going to get in a grain bin that could be disastrous. Well, we went down there and let's see. Shannon and Jeremy were up on top. Jim and I were down below. And I was watching the truck. We filled a semi-load out of that side auger, which would probably be about 1,500 bushels. So you know there has to be a big cavity in under there someplace, because the top was still sealed over when they got into the bin. But he thought he was tied up good. He had Jeremy loosen the rope so he could get over a little further. But in this meantime, he didn't get it tied up good. And when he went through, of course, a person holding the rope couldn't have a chance of a snowball in hell. But, and we went, three of us went up there and tried to shovel for probably 10 minutes maybe. In this meantime, Eric, we had called the EMT, the hospital, 911, and they got there before we quit shoveling. And the fan, thank God we had the fan running, and they pushed a lot of air in those big bins. Shannon was able to breathe. He could hear us talking. And he said he stayed conscious until he heard something banging noise. Couldn't imagine what that would be. Well, I knew that we weren't going to get him from above. I had to get below where he was above that side auger. And that's when I said, well, all I can do is take that. Jeremy went to the neighbors to get a chop saw or a cutting torch. Well, it was 5 miles away. That don't work either. So I took the tractor. I had a front wheel assist tractor with a good loader on it. I just started hitting that bin with the corner of the bucket above that unloading auger, that side auger. And it took me probably 20 licks at least to get a hole started in the bin. Tried to grab it with a grapple fork and tear out a bigger hole, and that don't work. You can't penetrate one of those bins. And then I just kept moving over with the tractor to make the hole bigger, and I got it probably 4 foot wide and had it bent up in there to where it was at least a foot deep. That cut was probably 4 foot wide and maybe a foot deep. And the police officer, I don't know, you want to tell Milo's story? Do you know it pretty good? I'll let him tell that, but anyway, the police officer followed that. He said, where would he be? He went up in the bin, said, where would he be? And they said, he's at the end of this rope down in under these sunflowers, and he don't know how deep he is, but he was in there probably 10 foot below his head. The bin was 30 foot tall, and I was only could reach the center of the fourth ring, which is about 15 foot. And I wanted to get higher because I figured he would probably be higher, but he wasn't the police officer said his feet were standing about the height that I cut the hole. So he was, and then sunflowers were 25 or 30 foot deep. I cut the hole, and the sunflowers started really pouring out. And by the time I quit that hole, the sunflowers had rolled out as deep as that hole I cut. There was a big pile. I couldn't hardly get to the bin anymore with the tractor. So then I went around the bin to the other side of the walk-in door, which is close to that unloading auger, and I cut another hole. It seemed like my tractor, I could cut a hole there. Well, there's a difference in the metal. I cut the hole there pretty quick and got the sunflowers coming out. And I guess I'll let Eric tell you kind of what the police officer what he encountered when he followed the rope down.
So a little bit of Milo's story. Any of you in fire, EMS, police, you all know how wonderful our dispatchers are sometimes. Well, Milo would have been on scene a lot quicker than we were, but crosswires with dispatch, he went past. He went on down to the place where Perry was talking that Jeremy went to get supplies. So we end up on scene first, but when Milo gets there, he does what a lot of people just instinctively would do. He ran right up, got right in the bin with him, looking to try and help. When he gets there and goes down in, I'm up on top at the manhole. I knew better than to go down. I wanted to, but in my mind, I knew better. And he's hollering up to me, tie him off in case, because he's digging. He's in there digging, trying to find him. And the grain's running out. And in the meantime, I run down, and like Perry said, the grain was right level with the hole, so we had a nice pile to walk up on, and me and Jim are standing at the hole looking in, waiting, trying to see if we can see anything, but the dust is so thick we can't. I get off the pile, I run back up to check on Milo, because Milo had been in there a long time. And I'm hollering at the top of the hole, hollering his name. Finally, on the fourth holler, he answers me. Well, it's at this time where he had found Shannon. Got Shannon up to about shoulder deep and was trying to pull him out. While the grain was working with him, running out, he was trying to pull him out. We come down, and again, Jim and I are waiting there. He gets him freed up. He ends up having to cut the rope to get him down to the hole with us. And then, of course, with the hole that was cut, Shannon's harness gets hung up as he's passing him out the hole to us. And was fortunate he had his knife accessible, cut him free, and then that's where he came out. And where do we want to go from there? You want to finish?
Just a second. I don't know if anybody ever tried to climb a sunflower pile when it's at a 45-degree angle, 15 foot up, and probably from here to the second door out. You don't run up a sunflower pile. I mean, it's a struggle to climb up there, let alone run. But Jim saw me. I was done cutting my holes at that time. I was still in the tractor, kind of watching. And he ran up that pile when he saw him coming. And then that's when Shannon, I guess, he got to the hole and he hung up there for a short period because that police officer, he's really a good, they're 1,000% the police officers we have, along with our EMT. He cut his harness, got him down through the hole, and then he came out that same hole too. But I guess if Shannon has anything else.
Yeah, my dad kind of ventured into the rope and the harness, and he thinks it's a bad idea. Me and my dad differ, just like any son and father, I guess most son and fathers do, but he thinks it's a bad idea, but I'm damn glad I had that rope and harness, because that way we could see where I was at. We was trying to be safe, but you know, this area, it's just like everybody. Farms are bigger, everybody builds big bins. There's a lot of wet grain this year. You know, I think there's going to be some issues with getting this grain out if nobody's checked it all winter. You know, I see a lot of big bins right through here, all along here. You know, this bin safety, this show, if you guys go see it, it's a pretty good show. I enjoyed it, but I really got a lot out of that movie, In an Instant, Buried Alive. That's a really good show about a kid in a corn bin. But, you know, I said it's there's a few things just kind of lined up perfect. I had my dust mask on for $3. That's my hat I had on. We had a tractor there, you know. And Milo was going by. Eric was down there so fast. I mean, you know, it's probably God's way of putting a helping hand out to us. And I probably ain't as, what should I say? Religious as I should be, but I think he definitely had a hand in helping me get out. And everybody prayed for me, and the thing that really bothered me about my accident, so they took me to Eagle Butte. Eric drove me up, and my wife went up. We went to Eagle Butte. They flew me to Rapid City that night, and I was in Rapid City for 5 days, I think. I got out Saturday at about noon. They let me out, and I felt great. And I couldn't believe. I'm like, I'm walking out of here. I could, you know, I was really surprised. I couldn't believe it. Well, there was a car show in town, and I knew the kids were kind of bored, and I wanted to take them, so we walked around there a little while, and then my son was in a basketball game tournament in Rapid that night, so we went to his game. I remember we went and ate supper, and I went to bed, and I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was just pouring sweat. I had to use the restroom, and my hand, it wouldn't open. My hand was just really tight. And I told Robin, and I'm like, there's something kind of going on with me. So we went back into the emergency room about 3 in the morning. It'd been Sunday morning then. And they started doing some tests on me. And I remember I was sitting talking to a ER doctor there, and my vision just kind of turned. I remember telling this doctor, there's something really weird going on with my eyes, because it just turned like in a 45 degrees, like, I'm like, and then they sent me into what did I go to, Rob?
MRI.
Oh, they sent me into this MRI machine, and that was really horrible for me to get through, and I don't hardly remember coming out of there, but I couldn't see, so the next morning, I couldn't see very good. My vision was really bad, and my hand was tight, and long story short, I think I had a stroke. I must have had a little blockage release, but I think I had a little stroke. So I was in Rapid for another 5 days, and then we checked on some rehab hospitals, and we went down to Madonna Rehab in Omaha, Nebraska, and they was great. They got me kind of, you know, and about a week after I was in there, I remember telling Robin, I think I was starting to see a little better, you know. And I know a lot of farmers, ranchers with injuries, broken backs, arms, legs, you know, but I was thinking to my mind, like, man, if you're blind, what can I really do on the farm? I mean, I was really scared that my vision wasn't going to come back. That bothered me the worst, is my vision. My hand, hey, if I had it, I was fine, but my vision really bothered me. But it kind of started coming back slowly, and the doctor said I had like this noxious brain injury, so I said, well, just give me some glasses. I thought that's all I needed was glasses, but they're like, no. They said it's like where your vision comes into your brain in the back. That's where it's kind of lost oxygen, so But he said, you know, the first 9 months after an injury like that's going to be your best chance. And like a week out in Madonna, I could tell things were coming along, and so I was really grateful for that. I don't know. It's you know, you don't want. I just feel so bad for my dad and our family. All the crap I put them through, and they're so tough. And hey, I want everybody to know too. I'm the lucky guy, but how'd I go?
These guys are the heroes.
Yeah. I had to think about this a minute. I think a little slow, but I'm the lucky guy, but these guys are the heroes. The EMT guys, my great dad. God help. Thanks for my dad for being there. I mean, he had the brains to, you know, take that tractor and start hitting that bin, because he knew we can't pull you out, we can't dig you out, we got to get some grain out. You know, it goes, a lot of these EMTs, you know, you guys have a big I don't know, I mean, I'd hate to be in your shoes in a deal like that. I don't know what to tell you. These grain deals look like a good deal in instances. I think they are a good deal, but in some places they won't work. You about got to get the grain down. So it's you got to make a lot of decisions fast and right, like my dad said. You know, and nobody train. I mean, we on the farm don't train for this stuff, but it's something to, you know. Like I said, I don't really care. I mean, us older guys like me, but these kids, I see some kids around here, and I was a kid, believe it or not. But I used to play in grain all the time, you know, but boy, you know, this grain, a guy's going to have to be kind of careful this fall or spring taking it out. And I think this is a great opportunity. But Jay had us come down and speak about some grain safety. Because I take it for granted all the time. I knew better than that. That wasn't going to happen to us. I just bought that rope we won't even hardly need that rope, you know. But I thought, well, I was at the co-op, and I said, we might as well buy that rope, and it's a damn good thing we bought it. So, but, ain't got anything else?
No. I want to thank all the people that came.
The sponsors.
And the sponsors, and Jay for all of you. And
there's some pictures up here.
just thank the Lord that everything worked out for us. And he's maybe not 1,000%, 999% anyway. He does all the ordering, buying, selling, grain, chemicals, fertilizers. I mean, he's back to where he was 3 years ago. Eric?
Shannon, open it up for questions when Eric's done.
Yeah, same thing. Just all of you for showing up and listening to Shannon talk. You know, I mean, he has a great story, and you know, it's just one of them things. You can train and train and train, but when it comes down to it, it's just quick thinking.
Accidents are accidents.
Yep.
You don't plan an accident, but they do happen.
So I don't know if anybody's got any questions, want to ask Eric, my dad, me, anybody, anything. My sister, does a great job. She put some collages together, the bins, and some of my rehab here, and I asked any to look at them, but anybody want to say anything?
Guys, I want to thank you very much. This is a huge part of this whole thing. I'm so proud, so happy that you guys done this. This had to be hard. This is a pretty personal situation you're talking about, and you're talking about in front of people. So I really do appreciate it. If you guys have questions, these guys are going to be around for a little bit. We've got a movie. We said it started at 6:30. It might be a little late. It's going to take some time to get to the theater and get your popcorn and goodies if that's what you want to do. I just wanted, when they were talking, I thought of two things. I thought of one thing that's in your pamphlet when you go to the movie. 50% of the deaths in confined spaces are emergency responders. And this fella said it right. He's been trained. He knows better than just to jump into a bin. That's what we want to do. We just want to jump into a bin and help somebody, right? But we need to learn and think, and these decisions that you made worked out for you. And that's going to be very tough. And the last thing I thought of during this was, can you imagine? I'm thinking of Barry in that tractor with the son stuck in a bin, and he's banging on the side of the bin. And what feelings he had going through him when he was doing that. I'm thinking of a mother at home that gets the phone call, a wife, a sister, a brother, an uncle, a father-in-law that's sitting out here in the crowd. You know, I mean, there's just got to be a lot of things that go through your mind. And when this happens, it doesn't just happen to the person or the family, it happens to the whole community too. So that's what we're here for, and that's why this community put this together. I think down the road we still need to look into this, dig a little deeper, talk a little bit more about training, and try to avoid this situation before it gets to where it got to. Do you have something else, Barry? Okay. So guys, I want to thank you very much, and we'll see you at the movies. Thanks.